let's be real. Choosing a career is one of the most stressful things you'll ever do, right? But what if the whole way we're taught to think about it is just broken? Today, we're going to break down a really powerful framework from Tim Urban over at Wait But Why that helps you make career choices that actually feel like, well, you? I love that quote. What it's really getting at is that most of the career advice we hear is, well, it's just old. It's totally out of date, meant for a world that doesn't really exist anymore. So if you want to make a choice that actually works for you, you've got to learn how to tune out all that noise and basically think for yourself from scratch.
All right, first up, your life path so far. See, before we can figure out where we're going, we have to look back at how we got here. Because for most of us, we weren't really the ones driving.
I mean, think about it. From the moment you're born, you're basically put into this river. The path is already carved out by your parents, your teachers, by society. The goals are super clear. Get good grades, get into the right college, succeed by their rules. Your only job? Don't question the path. Just be a really, really good swimmer. But then, poof, it's just over. The river dries up right after you get kicked out of that little pond we call college. All that structure, all that guidance you've had your entire life, gone. Just vanishes. And that right there is the core problem, isn't it? You spend, 20 years getting really, really good at being a student? You master all those little micro decisions. And then suddenly, boom, you're the CEO of your own life. You're supposed to answer these massive questions like, who am I and what do I actually want? And the crazy part is, you have absolutely zero training for the job. Okay, so section 2, are you a chef? This leads us to a really big choice we all have to make when it comes to these huge life decisions. So here's the key distinction. You can either be a cook or you can be a chef. A cook, well, they follow a recipe. They see what other people have done and they just copy it. But a chef starts from scratch. They understand the fundamental ingredients, the first principles, and they create something totally new. One copies, the other invents. And look, when you really think about how high the stakes are, the choice is pretty obvious. I mean, your career is going to take up this huge chunk of your adult life. It affects everything, your happiness, your identity. It's not like picking an outfit. This is one of those times you have got to be a chef. Which brings us to section 3. Meet your yearning octopus. Okay, so if you're going to be a chef, you need to know your ingredients, right? And in this case, the ingredients are you. It's about figuring out what you actually truly want. And this is where this amazing metaphor comes in, the yearning octopus. Just picture this octopus living inside your head, okay? It represents all those different and often totally contradictory desires and fears we all have. Each tentacle is a different want, and they're all pulling in different directions. So first up, you've got your personal yearnings. This tentacle is all about you. It's about that deep, internal stuff, your need for fulfillment, your creative passions, that little voice whispering that you want to leave some kind of legacy. Then you have the social tentacle, and man, this one is powerful. It's that ancient, hardwired part of our brain that's just desperate for approval. It's terrified of what other people will think. It wants to please your parents, your friends, society, basically everyone. And then, of course, there's the practical tentacle, the lifestyle one. This is the part of you that just wants security, It wants to pay the rent without panicking, have some free time, build a stable life. It's the part of you that just wants to have a nice, calm Tuesday. Now, here is the most important part of this whole octopus thing. You cannot make the entire octopus happy. It's impossible. So the real work, the hard work, is to go tentacle by tentacle and ask yourself a really honest question. Is this really my yearning, or did someone else put it there? Once you figure that out, then you can decide which parts of you actually get to call the shots. All right, section 4, redefining your reality. So you've done the internal work, you know what you want. The next piece of the puzzle is getting a really clear picture of what's actually possible out there in the real world.
Just like our wants, a lot of our beliefs about the world are just secondhand. We didn't come up with them ourselves. We slapped these labels on careers, right? Oh, that's a safe path. That one's way too risky. But that's all based on advice from a world that honestly doesn't even exist anymore. Those old rule books are just totally out of date.
So here's a much better way to think about your potential. It's a super simple formula.
progress equals pace times persistence. Basically, how far you get on any path comes down to two things: how fast you get better, that's your pace, and how long you're willing to keep at it, that's your persistence.
So let's break that down, right? Pace is a mix of your chefness, how well you think for yourself, your work ethic, and yeah, your natural talent. And persistence, that's all about how tough you are, how long you can stick it out. But here's the coolest part. Neither of these things is set in stone. You can actively work on your pace and your persistence. You can get better at both.
Okay, lost section. Section 5, your career dot by dot. This is where we put it all together. Now that we have a better handle on what we want on the inside and what's real on the outside, we can actually start to map out a way forward.
But this requires a pretty massive mental shift. The old way of thinking is that a career is like this 40-year tunnel. You pick one at the beginning and you're just stuck in it. But that's not how it works anymore. The reality is, a career is way more like connecting a series of dots. It's a path you literally build as you go, one experiment at a time. And you know what's so freeing about that? It takes all the pressure off. You don't have to have your whole life figured out right now. You literally can't know what your fourth or fifth dot is going to be. And you want to know why? Because the person you're going to become is the only one who's qualified to make that choice. And you haven't even met them yet.
So that next career move you're stressing about, it is not some terrifying 40-year commitment. It's just dot number 1. Seriously, think of it like a little experiment. You're just testing a theory about what you might like. It's a first date, that's all. It is not a marriage proposal. And that brings us right to the end, to the one question that really matters. After all this thinking, after meeting your octopus and challenging your view of reality, it all boils down to this one simple, totally manageable, and way less scary question. What's your next dot?